So let's start looking at the details of this program. And in particular, I want to look at the details of this class called Arena over here that I've written a bunch of code for, because I want you to get practice creating your own class to use in a program. So I'm going to kind of go through what I've done here, and then I'm going to have you do something similar here in the basketball player class. So as I showed you earlier, the template for creating a class, you just say public class, the name of the class, you put this in a file with the same name, and then you create your variables and your methods. Okay, and some of these methods are going to be things that just access these variables, and some of these methods are going to be things that actually update or set the values of these variables. Okay, so the variables here that I created for an arena, and I just kept it simple so we don't have too much code, I just created two. Now, if you can imagine a real basketball arena, there'd be lots of things like the particular address of the arena, the city that it's in, and so on and so forth, right? But I just created a couple simple things. Okay, I wanted to store the name of the arena, so like Wells Fargo Arena or Target Center or whatever. Okay, and I wanted to store the capacity, the seating capacity for that arena. How many people can sit? 15,000, 16,000, whatever. Okay, so I've got a couple things, and so I've just declared my variables. And again, for now, I'm saying private, the type of the variable, and the name of the variable. Okay, so I've created two variables here, and then I've created a few methods. Okay, most of the time you're going to create methods for each variable to get at that variable and to set that variable. Okay, so I've done that here. I just focused on the capacity variable first. Okay, I've created a setter and a getter. Okay, or in other words, the accessor right here and the mutator right here. So something to set that variable, to change it, or something to get at the value of that variable. And again, I create these for now. All of our methods are just going to be public. And then this is the return type, the name of the method, and as usual, any parameters, and then what that method does. Okay, notice that most of the set methods are going to have a void return type because their whole point is to go up and actually set the value of the variable, not to return anything. So we're not getting anything back. Most getter methods, matter of fact, I think all getter methods, are going to have some return type, like an int, because the whole point of these methods is not to go set something. Oh, sorry, let me turn off my phone here. Is not to actually set something, to change something. It's actually just to go get the value of it and return it. Okay, and a little side note right here. Okay, you may be wondering, well, why do we need this getter method when we can just, why don't we just get the variable, go right to the variable itself and get it? Okay, well, we can't, if a variable is listed as private, okay, what that basically means is that other programs cannot directly get at that variable. So over here, you've seen I've created an arena called TC, okay, and I've set the capacity, and then I've later on said get capacity to see what the capacity is. I can't just go get the capacity directly by getting right at that variable because it's listed as private. And private means that another program cannot access that directly. What public means is that another program can use that thing. So if anything's listed as public, another program can actually directly use that method. Okay, so since this is private, another program can't directly get at the capacity, can't go get that variable directly. It has to use this particular method right here, get capacity, to actually get the capacity. And we're going to talk more later about why that's a good idea in programs. For now, these are simple enough programs that it probably doesn't, it's hard to see why that's valuable, but we'll be talking about that soon in the future. But for now, just know that we have to use, from other programs, we have to use things that are public, and so that's why we need a method like this, a get capacity. That's the only way we can actually get the capacity of a particular arena, get the value of this variable. So all that's doing is returning the capacity. So whatever the particular capacity is that we've set for an arena object, this will just go get that variable capacity and return it. So you can see, this is where things start getting a little tricky, that these methods refer to variables up here, but they also may have their own local variables, like this set capacity method has a parameter variable right here called C. So when you get into code, like inside of a method, one thing that gets a little bit tricky is you have to figure out, well, here's a variable called capacity, here's a variable called C. Which variables are these referring to? And sometimes they can become coming from variables, again, that are actually created inside the method. Like this C right here is actually being created inside this method. It's a parameter. And so that C is referring to that C right there. This variable capacity is one that's actually referring to this actual member variable up here that goes with the entire class. So you can see that these variables that are listed inside the class can be accessed inside of methods. So you can see inside of set capacity, we're referring to capacity, which is that variable. Inside of increase capacity, we're referring to capacity. Again, that is actually that variable right there. Okay? So something to just keep thinking through and keep trying to kind of get this idea that these variables can be accessed in all of the methods. Okay? So we've got a set capacity method that just sets the capacity for a particular arena. We've got a get capacity method that actually returns the capacity. That's how somebody can get at that variable. And then I made another method down here called increase capacity. This is another mutator that changes the capacity. This is a variable where you can pass in some amount. I just created a variable name called amount that you want to increase the capacity of a stadium. Okay, and then what the actual method does is it increases the capacity by that amount. So it takes this variable called capacity and it basically increases it by whatever amount somebody passes in. So if somebody says increase capacity by 500, the actual value of capacity will go up by 500. So those are a few methods just related to that variable. Okay, then we'd also need to create methods related to this other variable. And you'll see later that we're also going to create methods that refer to multiple variables. So eventually we might have methods that do something with more than one variable. But we're kind of starting simple. So let's see, is there anything else I needed to point out here? I don't think so. So what I want you to do now, well, I'll pause the video here.